Well, good morning, welcome back. Now in the last video I covered throttle cables, how to change them, pulling the carbs out, all that old fiddling around, and now they're done. Nice job, very happy with them. What didn't cover at the same time though was the choke cable, and if you're going to replace your throttle cables, well, it's just common sense also to replace the 23-year-old 40,000 mile choke cable, which is just as likely to break as the throttle cables. Now your choke cable, if it breaks, is not going to leave you stranded by the roadside, unlike the throttle cables. It will more likely leave you stranded at home, and then suddenly you can't start your bike, so you find you're taking the bus to work, and you're still going to have a bad day. So it's worth doing nonetheless, and while we're doing it, there's some lubrication maintenance that we can include at the same time that not only makes it easier to operate, but will protect the new cable from premature wear at the same time. Now some might ask, and I'm probably sure it's already in the comments at this early stage in the video, why wouldn't you just do the throttle and the choke cable at the same time? Obviously do them as a pair. Yes, you would. Of course you would. But for the sake of YouTube land, I wanted to make two bite-sized standalone videos, one for throttle cable replacement and one for choke cable replacement, because when we search for things on the interweb, we search for them name specific. So here we are, XJR choke cable replacement. That's the only reason I've done this as two separate standalone jobs. Right, now obviously as well, if you are doing your throttle cables and you're going to do your choke cable next, then your bike will already be stripped. It'll be in this condition and this will carry on and you'll just do this. But if you're not, if for instance you've just broken your choke cable and you're replacing that alone, then your bike will be fully dressed still. So here's where the job starts from scratch. Firstly, whip your seat off, then remove your side panels. Carefully take your tank off and then put it somewhere safe out of harm's way. Now in the throttle cable replacement, as you saw, it means taking the carbs out of the bike, which means bringing the airbox back, which means taking the battery out so you've got room. But thankfully, the choke cable's so easy, there's no need for any of that. Now the mechanism on this choke, like so many bikes of this age, is really stiff and a little bit notchy. It's horrible. And that's quite common. Now, the best way to find out and eliminate where that stiffness is coming from is one of the three things: the carb mechanism across the bank of carbs itself, whether that itself is a stiff slide, also the cable, well, we're replacing that, but also up here in the switch block, this little lever, that could be dry and need lubrication. So to attend to all three of those items, the best way is to separate them and deal with them one by one. All right, here's the mechanism on the carbs working. There's the cable that pulls it, and all we need to do is undo that 7mm bolt and hook the cable out. Easy as that. Cable out of the way. Now firstly, the mechanism at the bottom, starting at the beginning, just operate it with your finger by pushing on the point where the cable connects. Just, it squeaks and it's quite dry and it judders as well. So we can definitely improve that. Oh, that's horrible. Right, just using a little bit of spray grease on the bearing parts. There's little screws that this mechanism slides across and it's just a dry metal to metal surface. So just lubricate that, just common sense. That's absolutely perfect. Now that mechanism just glides across, pulling all four chokes out. Absolutely perfect. There it was, just dry. Just need a bit of lubrication. Perfect. Well, now something to pay attention to is the routing of the cable, and yes, it's a minor issue, but it could be important. This one's ever so simple. It goes straight through a clip there and straight up to the bars around the front, but yours might go through a more tortured route to get to its destination. That could be for a reason, so that when you turn the steering lock to lock, it doesn't get trapped and it doesn't hang the steering up or anything like that. So if your cable goes by a specific route, then make sure that when you put the new one in, you follow that exact same route. Common sense, obviously, but worth saying. Right, so under that clip there, lift that out. Take off a little retaining clip, holds them all together, and it just comes straight out the front. Right, now straight away, as I've pulled that out of there now, there is a kink in the cable there. It's definitely not designed that way because I've seen the new one and it's dead straight. So that kink in the cable will definitely be adding to the overall stiffness of the mechanism. Now the other end of the cable connects to this little lever inside this switch block. So to undo it, there are two screws in the usual way, and looking at them, they're both rusty and they're both mullered. So to give myself every chance, I'm going to use a JIS and we'll see whether it's a PH1 or a PH2. The best fit we can. That is to say, the best fit in a mullered screw. Number 2. I don't feel like it's going in much. PH1 actually feels better. We'll try that. Press nice and hard. Gotcha. Yep. Gotcha. Now here I have 4 stainless steel machine screws ready for these 2 caps when I put the fluid in there, and these cost literally pennies. So I'll order 4 more screws for these 2 switch blocks, and when they come I'll replace them, but for today I'll just put them back in loosely. There we are, 1 cable. Now, this cable is definitely the reason, mostly, why that was stiff. You can pull each end if you want to move it, but you can't push that back in. It doesn't want to know. There's no free movement on that cable whatsoever. It's horribly stiff, probably due to that kink in the middle and the fact that it's corroded. This bottom end where the carbs are, that's corroded, and a corroded cable is a future broken cable. So I've decided to make this an upgrade. Now this cable is upgraded in 2 ways. First of all, it's got a secondary protective skin on the outside that makes it a little bit stiffer, so it's not as likely to kink like the old factory one did. And also it's got an adjuster screw in the middle like the throttle cables have, which means I can adjust out that annoying little bit of free play that all choke cables have from the factory. Look at that, silky smooth, guaranteed improvement. Now, you do not need to lubricate brand new cables. If you go doing that, you squirt a load of oil down in there, it's going to attract dust and it will sludge up and it will get stiff and resist. You do not need to lubricate brand new cables, especially good quality ones. Just 2-finger tight on the screws because I'm going to replace both of them. And with any adjuster on any cable, collapse out all the adjustment, then connect it, then adjust it up. Now it's important with any control cable to make sure that it's not holding the item that it controls open, in this case the choke. It's working fine, because if I slide it all the way around, it pulls out the brass choke plunger and pushes it back in. But if I just wiggle it at the bottom, we can see that the little slide bar is just wiggling around on its own, not actuating the choke at all. So that's absolutely perfect. Another interesting feature of this Hendler cable is, along with the gliding movement that it's got, also this adjuster screw. I collapsed it all the way in, fitted it, and it's perfect. It doesn't need any opening adjustment to set the free play. It doesn't have any. It's absolutely bang on right away. So I think what that's there for is, as the cable wears and goes through its service life, you can get in there and adjust it a little bit and remove that annoying free play that develops over time. Nice one. Now at this point, if you're going to do the job yourself, you put your heat shield back on, drop your tank back on, side panels and seat. But I've got all the fiddly air injection to wrestle back in underneath there and connect it all up, and I really want to take my time and do it carefully. I don't want to rush it, and also it's not very interesting, so it's not worth filming. Anyway, thank you for watching. Take it easy, ride safe. I hope this video has helped you out if you want to change your choke cable. I'll see you next time.